Welcome to the webinar, Public Art Ready, Set, Go. This knowledge sharing webinar has been developed for artists who are considering extending their practice from the gallery to the public realm. This webinar was developed by myself, Dr. Chaitanya Anderi, and Ms. Michaela Hartland from UAP. We wanted to share some of our experience and expertise that we have gained from our careers in public art. By way of introduction, I have had over 30 years' experience in the art and cultural field. I started as a jeweller, then scaled up to sculpture and public art. I've curated and managed large, complex public art projects, undertaken policy and procurement for government, and have also been a CEO for an art organisation.
Thank you for the introduction. I'm Michaela Hartland and I'm a Senior Curator at UAP. I have a Masters of Art and Public Space and specialise in the development of public art strategies and large-scale public art master plans. I was a Senior Curator on the Riyadh Art Program and I'm currently working on a number of exciting projects in the Middle East. Firstly, we'd like to acknowledge and thank the Saudi Art Council for hosting this webinar and to Abdullah Nasser Garam for also hosting a roundtable discussion on this topic.
UAP is a global public art company that's committed to supporting artists through that transition from the gallery to the public realm. It has been operating across the world for over 25 years and has facilities in Australia, China, and the States. It has a unique model that considers the whole project from inception to installation. And for artists, this unique model supports you through both that technical and conceptual exploration, while with the assignment of a lead designer to work collaboratively with you. UAP can manage the concept package right through to fabrication in one of our 3 specialised workshops and foundries.
Collaboration is essential to our way of working. We believe artists play such an important role in creating works that can connect communities, that celebrate culture, express the narrative of place, and record important histories. We believe that public art creates memorable experiences that make our world a better place. This webinar has been developed to inform and inspire you to consider public art. The webinar is in 3 parts. Firstly, it will include reasons why we want public art and how it's different from art in the gallery. Secondly, it will outline the typical process of a public art commission and offer some practical advice for artists in developing a concept design package that responds to a client brief. And the final part will chart the journey of 3 artists, illustrating their transition from the gallery to the public realm.
Millions of people interact with public art. It brings people to places to experience the unusual. It connects people to the environment, culture, and each other. It creates destinations that become famous and transmits the image across the world, uniting us beyond borders. Public art creates an identity for a place that differentiates one place from another. So why do we want art in our public places? One theory that has been adopted by scholars and urbanists is Maslow's A Theory of Human Motivation. Maslow developed this hierarchical structure of needs to explain what drives us as humans. At the bottom of the pyramid, he placed the basic survival needs. As we travel up the pyramid, the needs become more complex, such as the need to belong, to be loved, and to feel acknowledged by others. And at the pinnacle of all these needs, at the very top of the pyramid, Maslow identified the need of self-actualization. Self-actualization is interpreted as achieving your full potential as a human. This is a need to continually express ourselves, who we are, and what we believe in. It is perhaps the reason why art is so important to us and why we want creativity in our public lives. Every year, the London think tank ICSIA conducts a survey to understand the aims behind why public art is commissioned. The 3 top reasons for art in public places are to create identity, beautify the environment, and build social inclusion. Public art cannot be divorced from the public place in which we encounter it. And this model shows the relationship between what we see, what we experience, and how we make meaning. We use clues to help us interpret and understand places. Being able to read these clues is called cultural literacy. It explains how we build a mental map to understand the culture of a place so that we can adjust our behaviour to suit that unique place. Public art can assist us in building cultural literacy by offering clues to assist this meaning making. And because of this, it can also raise notions not only of art, but also of public space issues such as what is public and what is private, who's included and who's excluded, issues such as gender, age, religion, tradition, and class. So for artists considering developing an artistic concept for a public place, it links the question of what sort of places do we want with what sort of people do we want to be. The context of a public art project includes the place, that is the physical infrastructure, the activities and the scale. It includes the client, which may be a private developer, government or private collector, and the art, which includes the global and local art practice, the industry of art such as art fairs and biennials, galleries and museums, and that innovation and creativity over the ages and future trends. As an artist, you'll bring your knowledge of art to the context of the project and your creative exploration and research of the place. It is essential then to consider and understand the client's aims and objectives for commissioning art. Why do they want art? Whilst the public is ultimately the true client, the project will be framed within an overarching strategic vision. There will be quite different approaches depending on who your client is. For example, a private developer's vision will include a return on investment, that is the money, time, and energy invested in the project. And this could be measured by an increase in revenue, such as property values or retail sales. Whereas for the government, return on investment might be the number of people out and about enjoying a place and creating a socially engaged country. So considering who you are designing for and why they are commissioning art will assist you to make decisions about the type of art that will be suitable for the place, the client, and the progress of art.
The public art process. There are many types of public art commissions, but in our experience, there are three main categories. The first is site-specific. As the title implies, the artwork is designed for that site. It's integrated within its environment, a part of the structure and activity of the place. Conceptually, it relates to that place and creates a unique identity for the place. Secondly, are artworks that have universal ideas. These are concepts that can be understood and interpreted by anyone, regardless of age, demographic, or location. These universal ideas can be positioned across multiple sites and different countries, and often are additions of one design. And then there is artainment. This is a new way to engage people through entertainment. These are usually temporary and event-based commissions, and these types of commissions are incredibly exciting and bring people together to experience art as a collective event. These works have enormous impact in drawing people to a site, sharing experiences, and creating a destination. And because they are temporary, they're a great way to raise more challenging ideas. So there are many types of public art commissions, but in our experience, there are three main categories. This flowchart outlines a typical public art process in stages, from the public art strategy through to artwork development, design, and delivery. Stage 1 and 2 is the public art strategy and planning, usually developed by a public art consultant like UAP. A public art strategy will develop the vision for the project. It includes the type of artwork, for example, a tall vertical structure or an artwork in the pavement. And the strategy has objectives and goals for the project, where the artwork will be located, the types of artists recommended, and how they'll be selected. And it will also include things like the artwork budget, timelines, and approval process for commissioning. Once the strategy has been approved and the artist is selected, this stage is called procurement, and we'll discuss the different types of procurement in the next slide. So stage 3 and 4 deals with the concept design and then the technical details. This is when the design is finalised with all the details and final costs and program. This stage also has client approvals before moving into construction and delivery. Once the artwork is installed, a maintenance manual is developed and given to the artwork owner. This will provide instructions on how to maintain and clean the artwork. Typically, there'll be a launch event, and we would highly recommend engaging a professional photographer to document the event for your portfolio. There are many ways of selecting artists for public art projects, and it's often referred to as the artist procurement method. The most common are a limited competition, direct engagement, expression of interest, and concept ready. So a limited competition is where 2 or more artists are selected to develop concepts in competition with each other. And the commissioner will select 1 or more artists going forward into the next stage. Artists are usually paid a concept fee for their involvement in this process. Direct engagement is when an artist does not compete for the commission, but is selected based on their previous work and suitability for the project. Artists are also paid a concept design fee here as well. An expression of interest, or an EOI, is usually undertaken to engage with a range of artists and garner a variety of concept responses. The opportunity is advertised, or artists may be approached by a curator. An EOI can ask artists to submit a concept proposal. Typically, in this process, artists are not paid a fee for their concept submission. Some EOIs just ask for an artist portfolio and CV, and then select a few artists for a limited competition. EOIs can be a great opportunity for emerging artists to get recognition and be noticed. Interestingly, Mai Lin, who is a world-renowned contemporary artist, was awarded the commission for the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington through an EOI National Design Competition at only 21 years of age. Mai's design was selected from 1,400 entries and was the starting point to her ambitious career. Finally, a new trend we're seeing in Saudi Arabia is concept-ready proposals. Often the details about the artwork location, the type of artwork, and the budget have not been specified or listed. This is usually because clients are still a little unsure of what public art might look like and are looking for ideas to consider for their space. This type of procurement method is a way for clients to see public art concepts that are ready to be developed, either as a rendered image or a small model. The concept could be scaled up or down or amended to suit the location. And the concept proposals are ready to present to a client for shortlisting and commissioning. Therefore, if you'd like to be considered for public art, it could be a good idea to develop some concepts and have them ready to submit. We'll show you some examples later on in our presentation. So you may have been approached to develop a concept proposal for an artwork opportunity. Public art projects usually have an artist brief to guide you in developing your concepts for the project. The artist brief will identify the vision for the project, the type of artwork required, the budget, and the timeline. However, sometimes there isn't a clear brief. In this case, we've outlined a few useful questions for you to ask. Firstly, what is the overarching vision for the project? And why does the client like or would want a public artwork? Who will see the artwork? And who are the audience or site users? For example, is it a space for students or families? Will it be used during the day, or is it a leisure space for visitors at night? Or maybe even tourists seeking a destination? What is the intention for the space? Is it a meeting place? Do we want people to spend time in the space, or do we want to help guide and move people through it? What is the location, and is there a type of artwork required? For example, the type of artwork could be a sculptural work that acts as an entry statement, or an artistic treatment to a facade on a building, or a series of artworks along the street. Find out the practical information, such as the date the submission is due and the proposed budget for the artwork and its delivery date. Clearly understanding these project objectives and the client's brief and vision will help you create a responsive concept proposal.
So, after considering the why, the what, and the where, it is now the concept design package that will sell your idea to the client. Whether it is a site-specific design or a request for a concept, you will need to include the following information. Your artist bio may include career highlights and relevant positions. It's important to include some images of your art practice that show diversity or a key selection of some of your most successful works to date. When you write an artist statement, explain your conceptual response and vision for your work by including those images that have inspired you. Showing how the artwork is cited can be supported with some dimensions. There are a variety of ways to do the concept visualization, and we will show you some examples on the next page. You should include a plan view, which shows the artwork from directly above, and placing a person next to it will show the scale. You'll also need an elevation view, which shows the artwork from the side. Finally, include some reference images that indicate the type of materials and finishes that you're proposing. The concept visualization is one of the most important tools for conveying your idea to a client. All artists have their own way of working, so the kind of visuals you provide will be guided by the type of artwork commission, your practice, and your skills. Whilst 3D renders are always impressive, remember a well-drawn sketch is very appealing, and we have found that clients love them if they can understand how it fits within the site. Often this proposal might be viewed by a selection panel without you present. It is therefore important to make the visualizations as readable and as graphic as possible to showcase your vision and intent for this project. It is always worth asking a friend or colleague to review the proposal to make sure your intent is clear. Use referenced images, as mentioned before, as they will show the client examples of the materials, finishes, or techniques you will be using. This will help explain what the finished artwork will look like. Practical information. There are usually 3 contracts within a public art project. One for the concept design, one for the design development, and finally, the fabrication and installation. Contracts can be daunting and difficult to understand, so you will need someone who has legal knowledge to assist you. We have, however, noticed that there are a few clauses to be aware of. The first is intellectual property or IP. We found that clients generally want to own the IP, and this is usually because they want to make sure they are getting a one-off artwork and is not going to appear anywhere else. But this can be difficult for works that are universal like editions, so you will need to get advice on what is best for you. Secondly, clients will want to use imagery for marketing, and this is common. But if the client wants to produce merchandise featuring your artwork, then you should discuss an agreement with them, such as with royalties, which will also benefit you. Do note the terms for payment, as invoices can take a long time in big companies or government systems. And we've found that many artists request a commencement fee at the start so they can buy materials and pay for overheads, and this is generally accepted. So in preliminary costing, we use a cost plan as an example only, and this will be much more detail in the budget. Items to check will be your artist fee and gallery fees. Some artists work on a percentage of the construction budget, less any consultant fees. This is usually around 10 to 15%, but really it varies. For high reputational artists who can charge much higher rates, you will need to determine your own hourly rate if you're going to work directly on the project as an artist and nominate a project management cost. Getting quotes can be difficult, so make sure you leave enough time. While we've indicated the typical program timeline, it will of course vary depending on the complexity of the project, the site construction and the opening launch date. And finally, some more practical tips. This concept package is like going for a job interview. You want the client to easily understand the most important points. The concept package is typically 9 to 10 pages. It is written in clear, simple language. Avoid jargon that the client might not understand. Include your brief artist statement of about 200 to 400 words, and put it in a landscape format, which is preferable, with high quality images. Make sure you include your artist name, page number as a footer of each page, and always demonstrate that you've considered maintenance costs, local conditions, sustainability, and the attended lifespan.
We are often asked, how can I get a public art commission when I haven't had any experience in public art? From my experience as the international curator, you need to develop a strong and active online presence, such as an Instagram account showing your practice and a website with up-to-date images with your CV and bio. Consider creating small-scale works that could be created into larger works for the public realm. Participate in temporary events or workshops, talks and presentations, and introduce yourself and your practice. And most importantly, get in touch with local galleries and artist studios. Don't be afraid to reach out and start a conversation. This next section shows examples of how 3 international artists have drawn from their practice to develop works for the public realm. We have chosen works by Idris Khan, Lindy Lee, and Florentine Hoffman to demonstrate a site-specific response, a universal concept, and artainment. These projects showcase the 3 main objectives of public art: to create a unique identity, beautify the environment, and enhance social inclusion.
The first artist is Idris Khan. He is a contemporary British artist who works across a range of mediums, including sculpture, painting, and photography. He draws his inspiration from literature, art, music, and philosophy. Central to Khan's practice is a notion of repetition and action, creation and erasure. He layers text through a stamping method and often uses tools such as photocopying or scanning to build layered imagery, to investigate memory and experience. In 2015, Idris was shortlisted to develop a concept design of a significant UAE memorial, now known as Wahat Al Karama, the Oasis of Dignity in Abu Dhabi. The procurement method for this commission was a limited competition. This was a result of an international long list and then a selection of 4 artists to develop concepts. And this is Idris's winning concept. It was his first ever public art commission and is an example of a site-specific commission aimed to create a unique identity for the city. The memorial honours the members of the UAE Armed Forces and those who have given their lives for their country. It is a central focus for Commemoration Day, celebrations, visiting dignitaries, and a new tourist location. It is also a place for families to remember their loved ones. Idris's text-based practice included the beautiful and culturally relevant poetic verse from the emirs of UAE. The poetry is applied in several methods to create moments of detail. For instance, it was stamped into the casting mould, sandblasted onto the finished material, and coloured in different shades. The memorial was constructed for 850 cast aluminium panels, shown here as a free pour. That is a technique where the metal is not enclosed. This 90-metre long monument, comprised of 31 leaning tablets, symbolises support between soldiers, families, and citizens in the face of adversity. The different text applications and sizes provide opportunities for people to get close to it in places, touch it, and follow it through the work. Wahat Al Karama is located opposite the Grand Mosque in Abu Dhabi and is a site for Commemoration Day events on the 30th of November each year. We're very proud and privileged to have been part of this amazing symbol for the unity of UAE.
Our next artist case study is Australian Chinese artist Lindy Lee. Lee's practice explores universal ideas that bring to light the connection between humanity and the natural world. Working across a range of mediums, Lee explores her Chinese heritage through Taoism and Buddhism philosophies. She looks for connections between the spirituality and nature, and often works with elemental materials such as fire, metal, and molten bronze. This page here shows a selection of works from Lee's incredible gallery practice, including her sculptural pieces and burnt paper and metal works. Lee burns holes into paper to create these intricate and poetic patterns. And through exploring fabrication techniques and materials, Lindy has translated her burnt paper works into working with materiality such as raw sheet metal. Here you can see the transformation from her gallery practice and these incredible suspended sculptural forms. They're still delicate in materiality, like Lindy's paper works. However, the scale and layering of forms create a distinctive and dramatic artwork. As the works are fabricated from stainless steel, they have a longer lifespan and are suitable for the public realm. This is part of Lindy's concept package developed for welcoming entry statement for a new office precinct in Sydney. The artist brief was to create works that encourage a connection and reflection of people within the space. On this page, you can see how the concept plan is displayed, showing dimensions and scales to people. The concept visualization shows impact both during the day and during the night. Lee's sculptural works are often lit from within to create this beautiful and distinctive day and night presence. Lee's concept was approved, which then progressed to technical design and fabrication. Lee works directly onto forms and hand place every dot and hole with interconnected circles until there are thousands of small perforations. Constructed from highly polished stainless steel, a cluster of upscale sculptural forms were created. These designs express patterns of the universe and showcase that personal touch of the artist. Lee's artworks bring beauty to the urban environment, capturing the movement and light of the surrounding space. Our next artist case study is internationally renowned artist Florentine Hoffman. We've selected Florentine as an example of artainment, as his playful installations become must-see attractions. Hoffman does big things to explain big ideas and make an impact. He draws upon memories of childhood and loved objects and upscales them to enormous proportions. He asks us to question the use and purpose of public space, and he invites people to interact and engage with his artworks. This year, we had the opportunity to work on a temporary art project with Florentine called Messengers of Brisbane. This work was created for the Brisbane Festival, which is a temporary one-month city art festival in Queensland, Australia. Florentine created 6 rainbow finches, and they were these incredibly vibrant, colourful birds that were wearing party hats. He then wanted to perch the birds on some of the city's most iconic landmarks with a simple message to look up and smile. The artist first started with a hand sketch and collecting reference images. Then, using high-resolution photography of taxidermied birds, we created a 3D model to get the form and shape of the bird right. From this, we created digital files that were printed as fabric patterns and then sewn together. To create a realistic form, the bird's legs were 3D printed to create models that were then cast in fiberglass. The material, the frame, and the legs are assembled, and then the work was inflated with a pump. The finches are native to Australia and symbolise freedom and the fragility of our environment, whilst also being really accessible and engaging for all ages. This work brought a sense of fun and joy to our public space. The work started conversations and engaged the community and encouraged people to explore the city with a playful sense of imagination.
So in conclusion, is public art for you? Are you ready to make the leap from the internal gallery practice to the external public realm? We hope that you've been inspired by this presentation to consider your own practice and how you might bring art into the everyday lives of people. Art that engages, inspires, and interacts to bring people together to share their experience and form closer cultural bonds. An art that is a creative expression of who we are, the self-actualization that Maslow referred to as the highest order of being. Thank you so much for joining us. We are now working on part 2, Public Art Ready, the build, which will also be recorded and uploaded soon. It is a privilege for us to share our knowledge with you and hope that you've been able to contribute to the building of your creative practice. We love public art, and we hope you might love it a little more now too.